Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the channel. As always, I'm Alpha Heavy Gamer. Glad you could join me. Sorry about the delays in between videos. I've been working pretty hard lately. And I'm also working pretty hard on that grind. You know, I'm still grinding for the F14, but you know what time it is. It's time for the biggest winners and losers from the Danger Zone update. In these videos, I try to go through each nation and analyze, you know, who got the most or the least amount of love from Gaijin. Personally, for me, this was a great update. We got new vehicles, new mechanics, new weapons, new graphical effects, new maps, a rewind function, which I'm really glad is here. Makes it really good for replays, and also there's lots more. As always, I'm gonna break this down. No bias here. I'm just kidding. You'll see the bias with the First Nation, but let's dive in. Alright, so for biggest winners, number one here is obviously the US tech tree. The F14A guy here, I mean, it's finally here. The first 4th generation jet in the game with active radar guided missiles. So this is a win. This was the flagship vehicle for this update, and I know many people, including myself, were very happy. It's owning the skies right now. I don't have it yet, but I can't wait to get my hands on it. As for the question that most people have, I mean, I plan on doing a more detailed video about the F14A at some point, but is it OP? Right now, I think it's very strong, but I think time is going to tell as more people unlock it. So rounding out aviation, the F4s got some new weapons and they got the suspended weapon editor. I'm carrying 3 20mm gun pods on the F4E right now and a full missile load because I'm crazy, but it's so fun. Really good quality of life upgrades for the F4s to keep them fun. So on the ground side of things, the US got another Abrams. I guess you could call it the free Abrams, but it's from the Australian forces. It's the M1A1 AIM. It's a squadron vehicle, so as long as you're part of an active squadron, all you really have to do is play the game and you'll eventually unlock this. The good thing about the M1A AIM is you finally get better thermal sights on an Abrams. They look to be at least 2nd generation thermals to me. So that's really good news because, you know, not even the M1A2 has Gen 2 thermals, I know, which is really counterintuitive. Other noteworthy things about the USS patch is they got 2 new ships, the USS Gearing and the premium USS Douglas. So overall, the US did tremendously well this patch with vehicles. I think quality over quantity here is what matters. For a patch where there wasn't a whole lot of vehicles released, there at least was, for the US, some pretty good ones. Okay, continuing with biggest winners is number 2, Israel. So Israel didn't get any aircraft this patch, but they got an entire helicopter tech tree, which is pretty awesome for the lineups overall, as you can fill a lot of close air support gaps now, you know, with rotary wing casts. The line now consists of the AH-1G, the MD-500 TOW, the H-1Q, the H-1F, lots of Cobras, the H-64A Peyton, and the AH-64DI, and the premium offering is still the AH-64A Peyton. Overall, a fairly competitive helicopter tech tree. One of my favorites here is definitely the MD-500 TOW, so I'm going to look forward to flying that at 8.7. On the ground side of things, Israel did pretty well here as well. They picked up the Markava Mark IIIB and the Tehran 4, which is pretty cool. They also got the Magok 3 and the Shot Caldelet, which is available now for Golden Eagles. Overall, Israel did very good this update with the addition of an entire helicopter tech tree. The potency for this tech tree continues to build, I think. Still some gaps to fill, of course, especially on the ground side of things, but I think overall it will continue to get better. Alright, so coming in at number 3 for biggest winners here is China. For high tier additions this update, China adds the Taiwanese Air Force F5E, you know, with AM-9Ps for radar armament, which I think is pretty nice. I think this tech tree keeps getting quality aircraft additions. You know, if you think so, hit me up in the chat. I just hope it keeps up this way. It hadn't always been like that. For a long time, we waited for China to get something that was actually worth grinding for. Hopping over to the ground side of things, so China gets the much awaited ZTZ-99A this patch, which really looks good. I mean, it's really a nice model. It's a great top tier MBT for China. It's got good armor and can actually reverse, and I think with that new reverse speed, it's going to allow you to take up more dynamic positions, especially dynamic defensive positions. I think this is an important tank for the Chinese tech tree. And if you're a Chinese main, now you have a pretty formidable ground lineup. I don't think there should be any more whining anymore about China ground lineup. But also to bolster the Chinese lineup, especially for ground forces, we have the Z-19E premium Chinese attack helicopter this update. The Z-19E is very good in my opinion. You got all of the modern bells and whistles that you come to expect, and you have hard-hitting weaponry. The TY-90 air missiles are extremely good with an all-aspect, seeker, and the range is really good on them. I think this heli can at least try to contest the KA-50 with its Vickers missiles. I've been able to, with the air-to-ground ATGMs, ATGMs, I've been able to, shoot down helicopters with those, and planes going pretty slow. So really good addition there for China. So coming in at number 4 is Italy. For once, Italy's a big winner in an update. Gaijin continues to pump vehicles into the Italian tech tree. For aviation, Italy got a high tier premium, the Ariete at 9.3, which is kind of a Super Sagittario 2. It has more thrust owing to the extra engine, but it's still extremely agile. If you couldn't afford to play the Sagittario 2 due to the repair costs, you can now buy the Ariete. On the ground side of things, Italy got the VBC Prototype 2 this update. And this is a prototype of the Freccia infantry fighting vehicle, which should be coming sometime later down the line for Italy, which is actually pretty nice. I think this is an important vehicle for the Italian tech tree, and it gives Italian mains yet another vehicle to plug into an already pretty good ground lineup, around the tier where it is. Italy also received the Generi Premium Destroyer this update. Hope I pronounced that correctly. So if you're into ships, Italy also got a premium DD. Okay, so moving on to number 5. So if you love the Lightning, Britain got the export model in the form of the Lightning F.53 in Royal Saudi Air Force colors. It's a beautiful model, and it has ground ordnance hardpoints on top of the wings, which makes it look, like some kind of crazy transformer or something. It looks pretty formidable, like a beast. So this new premium comes in at 9.3, just like the tech tree variant. But this is probably a pass for me. I don't think I'll be picking this up. Aircraft like the Lightning have been power crept a bit in my opinion, because it faces jets with better missiles and countermeasures while you don't have any. Britain on the ground side of things got a premium as well, the Desert Storm version of the Challenger Mark III at 9.7. This is a good development as Britain didn't have a high tier premium tank option before. The Roycat was good, but it isn't a tank. Speaking of something that isn't a tank, Britain also got the South African G6 Rhino self-propelled artillery gun. This highly mobile wheeled derp gun should be pretty fun if you're into that. Also, how could I forget the HMS Hood? Britain gets that famous ship this update as well. I might have to start playing naval more just for the Hood. All right, and the last of the winners is Germany, and I actually had to think about this one a bit because I have a new category, which is the push category. I was going to include it in that, but I decided to keep them on as winners because they did get a high tier jet, the LIM 5P at 9.0 with a radar. I don't know how good that will or won't be, but we'll see. The F4F also gets a 3,000 pound, mother of all bombs. But outside of that, really nothing exceptional for air for Germany. On the ground side of things for Germany, guess what? Another premium. So if you really don't like high tier premiums, this has not been a good update for you. But Germany gets a premium Leopard 2 at 10.0, which I think is a good development. The Leo 1 A1 was getting a little old in the tooth, and this new premium puts Germany on parity with other nations that have high tier premium MBTs. And it even comes with bushes built onto the model, so you kind of gotta like that. For naval, Germany got the SMS Bayern battleship. So if you're into ships, another battleship. That's gotta be pretty good. And now for my new category, which is the push category. And number 1 for push is France. And I think this kind of sums it up right here.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Yeah, so seriously, on the serious side of things, I'm including France here. It's kind of a most improved nation kind of thing. The Mirage F1C did get a flight buff, a flight model buff, a radar buff, and a weapons buff. The MTI radar seems to be working well. The weapons seem to be working better than they used to. I plan on doing a more detailed video about the F1C, but the earlier deficiencies seem to have been corrected just in time for the F1C to face the F14A, which is awesome. It seems like a cruel joke. Okay, so, stop waffling about that. France also got the Mirage F1CT. While that's overall good right now, the F1CT doesn't seem to offer much more than the F1C. I mean, the loadout options for weapons look a little anemic. The air-to-ground, and its air-to-ground roll, I mean, it's kind of abysmal right now. I would really use something else like the Jag. It just seems incomplete. The Mirage Milan Premium was also added at 9.7, but honestly, that plane with just the AM9Bs doesn't really add much to the game. It doesn't have a radar warning receiver, it doesn't have countermeasures, and at 9.7, you face jets with way better missiles than you, and they have countermeasures, even though they don't really need them to dodge your silly AM9Bs. As a grinder, I guess anything is better than the Vautour, which we used to have. But for cast work, for actual real cast work, I'll just use the F100D at 9.7 or the Mirage 5F or the Jag at 10.3. On the ground side of things, it's a little bit better. France picked up the VCAC Mephisto, which is very much needed in my opinion, as France doesn't have many good light vehicles at high tier, let alone a good ATGM launcher. So the only other nation in the push category is Sweden, and they didn't get much this update except for a low tier tank, but I'm putting them in the push category because Swedish Marines got something they've been asking for a long time, and that is, I'll just call it the Slapperjack M95 shell for the SDRV 122A and the 122B. So hooray for Swedish Marines, you finally got a better round. This should make the 122s even more competitive than they were. Alright, so moving on to biggest losers, and leading the charge here is Russia. So many people expected that with the addition of the Tomcat that Gaijin would sneak in a surprise counter to it that was Russian, but that didn't happen. Instead, Russia got the Su-17M4, for CAS, which was quite a disappointment for many. Russian mains are just going to continue to face the F-14 with the MiG-23 until something better comes along. On the ground side of things, it wasn't much better. It was an SPAA at 4.3, the BTR-ZD, which does fill a gap. I mean, you got to give it to Gaijin, it filled a gap. But for the most part, that addition is pretty underwhelming. On the naval side of things, it looks a little better, I guess. Russia got the Kronstadt, which is looks to be quite the battle cruiser. For the few that play Russian naval, I guess this is something. But overall, big disappointment for Russia this patch. And coming in dead last is Japan. This was a hard update for Japan. They got no aircraft, no helicopters. They got a low-tier vehicle, the M36B2 tank destroyer. They did get a ship though. They got the Ayanami destroyer. So not a good patch for Japan at all. But at least the F4 EJ Kai got AM7F Sparrows. And that is it for the biggest winners and losers. And what do you guys think? I ranked them, I thought, pretty well. But if you think maybe the order should have been different, let me know. And even let me know what you think about this whole series. Should I keep doing these or not? And as always, I will see you all in a future video. Thanks for watching.